If you enjoy what you hear here today, please consider supporting me on my Patreon page. Every dollar helps, and you get to see content that you won't see here. Change. Queen of the Hive by Tom117Z. Prologue. Equestria finds itself in the middle of a conflict that may consume them all. Can they survive what is to come? Amidst the changeling civilization, there sat a hive. A hive that had served as the center of everything. The hive where all decisions were made, and the future of the changelings as an entire species was continuously decided. On the average day, drones and queens alike would move through its halls. Guards would vigilantly watch every entrance, as their royalty went about their duties and maintained their civilization. The hallways were pristine and well kept, the shining sun lighting up them magnificently in order to display the power of the changelings, while inspiring both awe and fear. It was here that their civilization had sprung up and spread out across the land. It was here that the changeling queens would convene and discuss what was next for them. The queens and their daughters would all meet in one very specific chamber at the center of the hive. A large, rounded chamber where they talked and bickered under her watchful eye. They discussed and they suggested, but at the end of the day, it was she and only she that made the final decision. They all lived to serve her, whether they liked it or not. She owned them. It was she who brought their race to power over the griffins and the zebras. It was the lesser race's fear of her that prevented rebellion, and it was she that would rule over them for all eternity. They were all subservient to Immortalis, Empress of the Changelings. It was here in the throne room that Empress Immortalis sat in quiet thought as her queens debated where their sights should be laid next. Some suggested the Minotaurs, some the Diamond Dogs, and others suggested that fledgling species of equines from across the sea and far into the west.
They're divided. The civilization is like a newborn nymph ready to go in a maturation pod,
one changeling argued.
But their talents cannot be ignored. Pegasi control the weather, and earth ponies the land. Both traits could be useful to us. And the unicorns?
Another asked.
They would be more of a problem,
the first queen admitted.
We have our own magic. Theirs would likely only serve as a hindrance to us. As they retaliate, best to simply wipe them out.
Another changeling queen with a light green mane shook her head.
They are too far away. We'd have to cross the sea and move through that barren land. All that exists there are a few tribes of buffalo to the south, and that's it. Everything else stretching from that mountain filled with crystal to the frozen north is empty. There are the yaks up in the frozen north,
one reminded the others.
My point still stands,
the queen with the green mane rebutted.
We would have a large empty space between our territories. I would advise we colonize that land before we even think of going after the ponies.
As the debate continued, one changeling queen sat quietly. She wore a brown cloak around herself, and beneath the hood one could just make out a teal mane, with a green highlight streaking through it, along with sparkling lavender eyes.
I have heard some rumors,
another began.
Some claim to have seen ponies with bat wings, and others have even said to have witnessed a pony with both wings and a horn. An alicorn. Alicorns? They are myths, nothing more,
the queen with the green mane dismissed. The one who had brought up the subject of alicorns went to retort, but was silenced when the Empress raised a hoof into the air silently. Immediately, the whole throne room became silent as the changeling queens looked towards the throne nervously, some even shuffling back away from it.
This talk of alicorns and bat ponies is highly entertaining, the Empress began, but I care little.
The Empress stood up from her throne, her teal mane flowing ominously through the air. Even without the elevation caused by the steps leading up to her throne, she still stood a head taller than any of the other royals present. She stood up tall and regally as her predatory eyes glanced over all of the queens present, all flinching back as her reptilian eyes bore into them. All but one. The one with the cloak looked up as the Empress glanced in her direction, meeting her gaze with no fear or trepidation. A curiosity that the Empress would investigate after the meeting, but for now she had to do her duty and let her command be heard by her servants.
"Well, the ponies could be useful as a slave race," she began. "Now is not the time for it. Once the land that lay in between belongs to the swarm, we can take those equines. But for now, we must set our sight to other prey."
The Changeling Queen who had brought up the ponies originally, bravely, and foolishly, found the courage to speak in protest.
"Excuse me, Empress, but why not take the yaks and buffalo now, along with that land? Then the ponies would quickly follow." "The yaks and buffalo are of little interest to me,"
the Empress coldly responded.
"Once we have run out of prey in the immediate area, then we shall move on." "Empress, I really think we should—"
She was cut off as her eyes started to give off a red glow. The Changeling Queen clutched her head and stumbled to the ground as she barely kept in a scream of pain. Empress Immortalis turned her harsh gaze to the Changeling in question. Her pupils dilated in fury.
"You dare question me? Empress, I'm sorry, I don't bother begging, you pathetic whelp,"
the Empress snarled.
"You know what happens to those who do not know their place beneath my hoof. You know how easily it will be to bury who you are deep within the hive and reprogram your mind and your body to be exactly what I want it to be."
The Queen's eyes widened in fear at the thought of having everything she was lost, her already limited free will stripped from her and buried within. She would become a prisoner inside the hive mind and would be unable to do anything but watch and feel herself acting as the Empress dictated.
"Please, I didn't mean any offense! Please!"
The red glow in her eyes only increased, as all but one of the other royals looked on in terror, backing away from the Empress as possible.
"You are young,"
the Empress noted.
"I shall only enact this penance upon you for a short while, as an example to others. But question me again, and I shall take your mind until the day your pathetic body gives out and you drop dead in service to me. No."
The throne room came to a standstill. The silence was deafening to all within as Empress Immortalis slowly looked up from the shivering changeling in front of her and examined the rest of them, her rage subsiding as her now calm eyes moved on over the group. To them, the sudden calm she displayed caused even more unease than her previous rage.
"What did you say?"
the Empress asked gently. That was the kind of gentle voice an incognito assassin displayed while hiding a knife behind their back.
"No!"
the Changeling Queen in the cloak repeated as she stepped on forwards.
"This has gone far enough."
The Empress stood up to her full height, carefully examining the one who dared speak up against her.
"Queen Crepuscule, what do you think you are doing?"
Crepuscule met the Emperor's gaze. If there was once fear to be found in them, it was no longer present.
"You enslave everything you encounter. Not just the griffins or zebras, but your own kind. We've served under you with no other choice, nor any decisions of our own for far too long. I can't stand by and watch anymore."
Immortalis had to admit she was impressed. It had been a long time since one of her favorite pets had directly challenged her like Queen Crepuscule was doing. She would enjoy breaking her.
"Leave us,"
the Empress commanded, the one she was previously about to punish already forgotten. The other queens scampered out of the throne room as fast as they could manage, none wanting to see the horrors about to be inflicted upon their fellow queen. The Empress waited until the door was shut, and it was just the two of them inside the throne room. She then walked back up to her throne before looking down on the Crepuscule in judgment.
"You are brave, I will give you that,"
Immortalis stated.
For you to confront me in such a way, your strength is something I would not have expected from you, though it does explain your attitude in the meeting. Thank you."
The Empress chuckled, her predatory eyes locking onto the changeling before her. Oh yes, she would enjoy what was about to happen.
"You know, I could use you in some of my more important and dangerous plans. A changeling with a fire in them, one who gets results." "Are you promoting me or something?"
Crepuscule deadpanned.
"In a matter of speaking."
Empress Immortalis leaned forwards a little.
"But I cannot have a queen questioning my commands. You remember what I told that little queen? I am going to break you, Crepuscule. I will leave nothing of you left, and then nurture the traits I desire from you into a changeling forever loyal to me. I give you fools as much free will as you have out of kindness, but you have lost those rights."
The Empress grinned, her sharp fangs gleaming.
"Your mind shall be fully mine, and you will serve me with a smile." "Your own unique brand of mind control,"
Crepuscule commented.
"Go on then. Do it."
The Empress reached out through the hive mind, searching quickly and thoroughly for Crepuscule's mind within the mini contained within. But she found nothing. The Empress's eyes widened.
"What? How is that possible? I can't sense your presence anywhere. When and how did you do that?" "Just now," the Queen responded. "I've been waiting for the right time, and now is it." "You think disconnecting yourself has saved you?"
The Empress flared her gossamer wings as she shot up to her hooves.
"I can reconnect you at any time. The process of containing your will shall not be pleasant. I will make every moment of your existence for the rest of your miserable life an eternal torture within the hive mind."
The Empress released a beam of putrid green magic at Crepuscule, whose hood fell backwards as her own horn lit up, a shield forming around the Queen as the beam impacted. Despite the shield, Crepuscule was thrown off her hooves and collapsed backwards to the floor. It was here she lay, panting heavily as she tried to get back to her hooves. Crepuscule fired a bolt back at the Empress, who simply deflected it with one of her own without even flinching.
"You queens are nothing. You believe yourself superior to other changelings, when in reality the only one who is superior is me. You are no different to me than the common drone or the slaves laboring away for us. You are all mine, and those who forget that shall be quickly reminded." "And what gives you the right, Immortalis?"
Crepuscule asked, sneering.
"What gives you the right to dictate our lives as you do?" "It is the order of things,"
the Empress responded.
"A simple hierarchy, and it fills me with dread and sorrow that you fail to understand it. You have the drones, the queens, and then me. It is a simple matter of biology, my dear." "You speak of order and hierarchies, but how you act and rule is a choice," the Queen rebutted. "You don't have to act cruel. You could have reached out to the other races and befriended them, but you didn't. You could have worked with the rest of your kind, but you didn't. Instead, you take our minds and our free will."
It was then Immortalis noticed a smirk forming on the other changeling's face.
You don't bring order or harmony, only chaos and destruction.
Queen Crepuscule spat.
You don't bring harmony, but these will.
It was then that Crepuscule used her magic to tear away the brooch holding her cloak. Allowing it to fall to the floor, she brought out the 6 objects she had hidden beneath. 6 gems orbited the queen. Red, pink, orange, blue, and green, along with a lavender gem in the shape of a 6-pointed star, all glowing softly as they interacted with the queen's magic. Also revealed was the presence of a mark on Crepuscule's flank, the image of a crystalline tree with those very gems embedded within, and that tree had the images of the sun and moon carved into its trunk. The Empress examined the 6 objects in utter confusion.
Gems? Wherever did you find those? The land between the frozen north and the Badlands isn't as empty as many believe,
Crepuscule answered.
And it is there that I found the answer to you, and now your darkness shall fill the land no longer!
Immortalis growled as she lit up her horn with a lethal spell, preparing to render the queen in half.
With those? You're kidding, right?
She questioned.
I've changed my mind. You would serve a better example if your flayed body was hanging above my throne.
The elements of harmony all moved into position, 5 of the gems forming a circle around Queen Crepuscule facing the Empress, while the star moved itself to a little in front of the circle in the center. The 5 gems began to glow and spin, with their magical energies all focusing on the star in the center, as the firing sequence initiated. Empress Immortalis gave a shout of rage as she unleashed her spell towards Queen Crepuscule, only for a rainbow-colored wave of magic to shoot forwards and consume the Empress's spell like it was nothing. Immortalis could only watch as the wave steamrolled towards her and swallowed her whole, screaming in pain as she felt her body evaporate into the air around the throne room. And then there was silence. Crepuscule had to groggily pick herself off the floor, the elements of harmony having taken quite a bit of energy to use. The elements themselves, their work done, had fallen a little ways away from the queen. She looked at the 6 gems gratefully, knowing she was to return them to the tree as she had vowed when she had taken them. The tree needed the elements in the long term, and she was not going to get in the way of things. Her gaze moved on from the elements towards the throne, which was now empty. All that was left of the Empress was a smoldering piece of regalia on the floor. The Empress's chest piece, to be exact. The regalia was black and silver in color, with a gem that matched the Empress's mane in its center. Though the regalia now had burn marks scarring its previously pristine frame. However, that was not what caught her eye. Rather, it was the red magical glow emerging from the regalia that filled Crepuscule with a sense of dread. And that was when she heard the whispering. A voice in her ear. A voice telling her to place the regalia on her own chest. A voice promising her power equal to the Empress, to rule over the changelings as she had. Crepuscule powered up her horn to destroy the regalia, but it reacted almost like a wounded animal. The voices and magic increased, and the queen could feel the temptation override her screaming mind as her horn flickered out. She began to take slow and deliberate steps towards the regalia, reaching out for it with a hoof.
No!
She screamed as she forced herself away from the regalia, looking upon it with horror written on her face.
You are pure evil, but temptation and influence this strong? An echo of the Empress, perhaps,
she stated to the chest piece.
If I can't bring myself to destroy you, then I'll just seal you away from where any creature lives. Your influence will be lost forever. I'll see to it, Immortalis.
and that was a promise she kept. She hid the regalia away from the other queens as she spearheaded the formation of the council. She would form her own hive, and with her drones working to build a vault beyond the frozen north, in a barren land filled with almost nothing but wilderness and volcanoes. It was in this hidden vault that she stored the regalia of Empress Immortalis, sealing it from the world before trying to destroy all mentions of its existence, though she was never sure if she completely succeeded in that regard. Still, as time went on, the Empress of the Changelings became little more than a story told to scare nymphs at night, while the elements of harmony would remain in the tree where Crepuscule had left them, at least until the formation of Equestria, and their subsequent collection by Celestia and Luna. 4,000 years later, and the world Immortalis had constructed was no more. The changelings still existed within the council Crepuscule had formed, governing the species, although each hive tended to operate individually for the most part. New bearers for the elements would be selected in the form of 6 friends, 5 ponies, and 1 changeling queen, even if the latter didn't know about it at first. The elements would be returned to the tree once more, but their power remained with the 6 as they defended the land from many threats that came along over the years. All the while, the regalia had remained silent. One had sought it, but she had never obtained it. However, all was not as Crepuscule had planned. The vault, many years after the Empress's fall. The vault shook as the changelings outside the entrance continued to undo the last of the remaining enchantments on the doorway, coming closer and closer to breaking in each and every minute. They didn't know what lay within, but curiosity was driving them forwards. Queen Draco looked on at her changeling's work, considering what she might find within the vault. And she knew that her friend, Queen Twilight Sparkle, would also be quite intrigued to find out.